You move the queen multiple times and let your opponent develop their pieces. This is dumb. Don't do that. Don't move the same piece twice in the opening. If you move the same piece twice, what the hell you doing with your life? Develop quick, control the scene, don't waste your turns, be bold and mean. Anyways, if you move a piece twice, you're not developing quickly enough. Unless you're Hikura Nakamura, stick to this principle. Develop quickly. Develop or die, said some grandmaster probably. This principle means you should get your bishops, knights and queen off the back rank, as well as castle to connect your rooks as soon as possible. When you do, your king is super safe, and your pieces are ready to smash the opponent's king.
Do you see a way to win the game?
Avoid double pawns. Double pawns happen when two pawns of the same color are on the same file. When this occurs, the pawns can't defend each other and are very prone to attack. It's generally a good idea to avoid double pawns. And even though people have attempted to make the legendary tripled pawns, things usually don't end well for them. Avoid isolated pawns. Isolated pawns are pawns that have no pawns nearby to protect it. These kinds of pawns are very easy to kill, and usually big targets for your opponent. A strategy to get rid of isolated pawns is to sacrifice it to ruin your opponent's pawn structure, and then capture them back later. Endgame king is valuable. The king is pretty much a loser in the opening. However, in the endgame it becomes a god, and you should bring it out as soon as possible. In this position, white is completely winning, because white's king is much more active, and will very soon capture these three black pawns. Castle before move 10. While you can technically wait till move 69 to castle and deliver a castle checkmate.
Promote and defend. Perfect timing. Take out their queen.
What?
Don't try that at home. You'll most likely get and be delivered home in an ambulance. Just castle early and get checkmated like Magnus.
No.
Great choice.
Rooks go behind passed pawns. If you have a passed pawn, put a rook behind it. This makes sure that the pawn is protected while the rook remains active and can do other things.
You've got this.
I'm not sure I can take them all.
Time to play defense. Don't
worry, bro. I got your back.
Bishops open, knights closed.
Great move.
Bishops are better in open positions because they can control squares and attack from afar. When they're in closed positions, however, they become pretty useless because they're blocked by their own pawns. Knights are the opposite. They move slowly like snails in open positions. However, in closed positions, they can hop around and go to places no other pieces can.
Well spotted. Now stop the other pawn.
Backward pawns.
Nice move.
Backward pawns are pawns that are left undefended because its brothers have been pushed forward or captured. Similar to isolated pawns, this kind of pawn usually becomes a target for your opponent. Avoid moving pawns in front of castled king. Pawns are there to protect your king. If you push pawns in front of your king at the wrong time, your king will get smashed by your opponent's pieces. Always play en passant when given the chance. En passant is not just a chess move, it's a way of life. In this chess match, Bobby was faced with an important decision. Should he checkmate his opponent, or play en passant? Being an absolute king, Bobby chose en passant, and with that, he sacrificed the game. Don't trade bishops for knights. As a rule of thumb, bishops are usually better than knights because they are long-range pieces, and can sometimes unexpectedly f*** your opponent from afar. In this position, even though you can trade your bishop for the knight, creating double pawns for your opponent, you probably shouldn't. Knights before bishops. It is generally better to move knights first because you can pretty much bet money that the knights will go here or here. Bishops, however, have a lot more options, so you should wait and decide later. Knights are the best blockaders of pawns. Knights are really good with blocking pawns. This is because the knight naturally controls the defending squares of that pawn, so it's harder for other pawns to support it. In this situation, for example, black can't push b5 because it'll get captured. Don't play hope chess. Hope chess is when you play chess and you hope your opponent will make the move you want, or somehow screw up. Don't do that. Instead, you should always imagine that your opponent will always play the best move and plan accordingly.
I hope he doesn't see me.
Connect rooks. Rooks are stronger as a pair. Connecting rooks means removing any pieces that stand between them so that they see each other. For example, in this position, the queen can move out of the way so the rooks protect each other. Two minor pieces are better than a rook and pawn. If we count the material, both a rook and pawn, and two minor pieces are 6 points of material. However, trading two minor pieces for a rook and pawn usually is a bad idea, because two minor pieces can control more squares, and coordinate to deliver stronger attacks. In this position, for example, trading causes white to lose 1 point of advantage. 3 minor pieces are better than a queen. In the same way, 3 minor pieces can usually be more useful than a single queen, even though they are equally worth 9 points. Capture toward the center with pawns. When given the opportunity to take a piece or a pawn with your own pawn, you should always look to take towards the center if possible. For example, in this position, white has the option to take black's bishop with either pawn, and the better option is to take it with the a-pawn because that move builds stronger attacks towards the center, and it also opens the file for the rook. Control the center. The center is the most OP area of a chess game. If you control the center, it'll be very hard for your opponent to do shit. So use your knights, bishops and pawns to control your center when you can, and thank me later. Don't open the center if your king is still there. If your king is still in the center, it is not a good idea to trade or play moves that would allow your opponent to open the center and attack your king. In this position, black hasn't castled yet, and a move like d5 wouldn't be good because after a trade, white gains a half-opened file that can be a potential danger to the king. 2 connected pawns on 6th rank beat rook. If you have 2 connected pawns on the 6th rank, there's not much that a rook can do to save the game. A common strategy is to sacrifice 1 pawn to let the other pawn promote. Opposite-colored bishop pieces are dangerous in the middle game. In this position, black is up a knight. However, because the 2 bishops are of opposite colors, this bishop is attacking squares that the other bishop can never defend, and checkmate is unstoppable. If black has a dark square bishop, it would have been a totally different story. Opposite-colored bishops drawish in the endgame. In the endgame, opposite-colored bishops are very drawish. Believe it or not, these 2 positions are both theoretically draws. Rooks on open files. There are 3 types of files: closed, semi-opened, and opened. Rooks are pretty miserable when they're on closed files. In this position, all the files are closed, so white can make no progress, and it is a dead draw. But if white has 1 less pawn, this file becomes semi-opened, and black is f***ed. Attack base of pawn chain. A pawn chain is a few connected pawns which control a lot of space together. In this position, all of these pawns are protected, except for the one at the base. Once that pawn is gone, the other pawns can be captured one by one.
You took advantage of the free material in the opening and wrote
Went
it
ahead
out
trade
to a
pieces,
win.
but
I
not
love
pawns.
to see that.
In this example, you're up a rook for a knight. This is a pretty big deal. You can simply use your rook to scoop up all black pawns, and winning is inevitable. If you trade all pawns though, even Magnus Carlsen can't win this position, because it is a freaking theoretical draw, unless the opponent has a seizure. When down, trade pawns but not pieces. Similarly to the last principle, if you are black, trading all of your pawns is what you want to do, because that is how you will increase your chances to get a draw from a lost position. Knights on the rim are grim. When a knight is on the rim, it can only see 2 squares. However, when it's in the middle, it controls 8 squares in total, so to keep your knights happy and productive, don't put it on the rim. If the position is cramped, trade pieces. In a cramped position such as this one, your pieces don't have any space to do shit, so the best thing you can do is simplify the position by trading pieces. When you see a good move, look for a better move. When you find a good move and think you are Hikaru, always stop for a second and look for a better move that will make you look like Magnus Carlsen. In this position, a rookie would take the rook and feel pretty good about himself. Hikaru would immediately realize that knight to e6 is an immediate KO. However, only Magnus Carlsen would know that an impassant move is available and take advantage. Doubled rooks on open files are powerful. If you line up 2 rooks one behind the other on an open file, that file can become a big problem for the opponent as they can't easily get it back. Rooks are strong on 7th or 2nd rank. If you can get your rooks to the 7th rank for white and the 2nd rank for black, your opponent will be in deep shit. This is where most of the pawns are, so you can just take them one by one. There is also a lot of nasty checkmate potential when your rooks are lining up like this. Deal with an attack on the flank with an attack on the center. In this position, black is attempting to launch an attack on the right flank because the white king is castled. What white can do is to strike back in the center, because the black king is not yet castled, and things will look really bad for black really fast. Know the right time to ignore principles. And of course, if you want to be a good chess player, there will be times when these principles will have to be ignored in order to make the best move in the situation. Have fun, and bad luck. Desperado. A desperado piece is one that is already doomed to be captured,
Your time has come, buddy.
but seeks to inflict maximum damage before being taken off the board.
If I'm going down, you're going down with me.
In this position, the knight is already trapped, so might as well grab a pawn with it. Decoy. Decoy is a tactic that lures an enemy piece to a specific square where it gets ambushed and captured.
Don't be a simp.
In this position, white sacrifices a pawn to lure the king out in the open, and then ends the game with a brutal checkmate. Under promotion. Under promotion is a tactic where a pawn is promoted to a knight, bishop, or rook instead of a queen. This surprising move can be a game changer, often used to avoid stalemate or achieve specific tactical objectives, not possible with a queen. Overloading. Overloading happens when a piece is given too many responsibilities at the same time, and cannot execute them properly. In this position, this pawn is defending two pieces, but as soon as one is taken, the pawn has to move to another square, leaving the other piece undefended. Rooks on the 7th. Placing rooks on the 7th rank can be a devastating tactic, as they can attack pawns and pieces, cut off the enemy king, and coordinate with each other to threaten checkmate. Discovered attack. Discovered attack happens when moving one piece uncovers an attack by another piece. In this situation, the knight attacks this rook while simultaneously uncovering a check. The king has to move, after which the rook is lost. Fork. A fork happens when a single piece attacks two or more of the opponent's pieces at the same time. In this position, white can move this knight here to fork black's rooks, which leads to a material advantage. Smothering. Smothering often involves sacrificing material to force the opponent's pieces into positions where they block the king's escape.
Don't worry, King. I'm on your side. You stupid You're blocking my escape.
Clearance. Clearance is a sacrifice where a piece moves away from a square, file, rank, or diagonal to open up space for another piece. In this situation, the knight would love to jump to e6 to deliver a fork. So the queen sacrifices itself to make the square available for the knight. Pawn breakthrough. Pawn breakthrough is a genius tactic in endgames where a player sacrifices multiple pawns or pieces to create an unstoppable passed pawn. In this position, white challenges black's pawn island, but instead of taking back, white sacrifices another pawn, so that this pawn can promote to a queen. Pin. A pin occurs when a piece is attacked, and moving it would expose a more valuable piece behind it. Pins can immobilize an opponent's piece, making it an effective tool for gaining a material advantage. Skewer. A skewer is similar to a pin but in reverse. The more valuable piece is in front and must move, leaving the less valuable piece behind, exposed to capture.
Honey, watch out!
Are you okay, my queen? Thank God she's gone. She talks too much. Can we do the ankle thing again tonight, baby?
Of course, sweetie.
Windmill. The windmill tactic typically involves a rook and a bishop, where the rook swings back and forth, capturing material on each swing. It's a devastating and often game-ending sequence. Mating net. A mating net is when you restrict the king's movement, so that delivering checkmate is easy if given the opportunity. In this position, the king is in a mating net. These two squares are currently defended, but if at any point, white can bring his rook here, or knight here, it would lead to checkmate. Perpetual check. Perpetual check is a situation where one player can put the opponent's king into check continuously, and the king cannot escape the checks. This results in a draw, and is a tactic to avoid losing when behind on materials. Zwischenzug. Zwischenzug, or in-between move, surprises opponents by inserting an unexpected move within a seemingly forced sequence. Deflection. A deflection is a tactic that forces a piece away from a specific duty or square that is important. In this example, the black queen is defending the square h7, so white sacrifices the rook to force the queen to move, and then delivers checkmate next move. Interference. Interference occurs when a player interposes a piece between an enemy piece and its defender. As a result, the other player can no longer guard the attack piece, and usually faces a significant material loss, or is checkmated. X-ray. X-ray is an attack where a piece indirectly attacks another piece through an intervening piece. Because this bishop is attacked twice, white can capture it, as if black queen recaptures, black will lose the queen. Undermining. Undermining, also known as removal of the guard, is a chess tactic in which a defensive piece is captured, leaving one of the opponent's pieces undefended. White currently has a mate on g7, but this knight is defending it, so white removes the knight, and proceeds with the attack. Passed pawn. Passed pawns can be a fatal weapon during endgames. In this situation, white can take advantage of black's open king, and play rook to a8. Black's rook has to capture the pawn, as otherwise it will promote. Unfortunately, white can skewer the rook right afterward. Zugzwang. Zugzwang is a situation where any move a player makes will worsen their position. It's a strategic tool used to force the opponent into a dilemma, often leading to the loss of material or a deterioration in their position. In this position, white plays the brilliant sacrifice, rook to a6. Black only has 2 legal moves, and both lead to a checkmate in one. If black takes the rook, this is a checkmate. If black moves the bishop, white will checkmate this way. Stalemate. Stalemate happens when a player's king is not in check, but he has no legal moves to play. In this real game in 1880, white is currently down 5 points of materials, and all hope seems lost. But white suddenly realized that his king had nowhere to move. He sacrificed the queen, and the game ended in a stalemate. Brilliant. Double check. Double check is when a king is put in check by 2 pieces with a single move. The only way to escape a double check is to move the king. And in this position, white finishes the game with a checkmate. Battery. Battery is a classic tactical motif that involves aligning 2 or more pieces on the same file or diagonal, so they can work together to exert pressure on a specific square in the opponent's camp. Backrank. Backrank tactic occurs when a player exploits his opponent's vulnerable backrank to gain significant material advantage. Counter threat. A counter threat involves responding to an opponent's threat with a threat of your own, often more immediate or severe. In this position, white attacks black's rook, but black responds with a counterattack on white's king, and captures the bishop at the end of the sequence. En passant. En passant is a special pawn capture that can catch your opponent off guard. It occurs when a pawn moves 2 squares from its starting position and lands beside an opponent's pawn. The opposing pawn can capture it, and in this case, lead to a checkmate. Sacrifice. A sacrifice happens in chess when one player intentionally gives up material to achieve a larger goal. In this game, Paul Murphy sacrifices his queen to deliver a stunning checkmate. Rook to d8. Simplification. Simplification is the act of exchanging pieces with your opponent to make the game less complicated. This is particularly useful when you're up on materials and want to convert to a win. In this situation, white is ahead in material. But knights can be tricky, especially when in time trouble. So to avoid having to watch out for potential forks all the time, white decides to trade down into a winning endgame position. This is a very smart decision as winning this endgame is very mechanical and can be done without much thinking.
Do you want to improve at chess because no matter what you do, your chess rating doesn't go up, or it even goes down? Well, I got you covered. In this video you are going to learn the 3 vital chess tactics that you need to stop blundering your pieces so you can increase your ELO rating and beat Magnus Carlsen in the World Chess Championship.
Wow, do you really think I can beat Magnus Carlsen?
Probably not. The forkity fork. Now let me teach you what a fork actually is.
No time to waste. Yeehaw.
The fork is a tactic where you attack 2 or more pieces using only one piece. It allows you to capture one of them on the next move. It's like you grab 2 macaroni pieces with your fork knowing that one of them is going to fall down on your chair, but the other one is surely going to go in your mouth.
Wow, that's oddly specific.
This is the most common fork you are going to see in real games.
Checkity check.
It's most common to fork with your knight, but you will be surprised to know this, you can fork with any piece.
What? I thought forking was my special ability.
No, it's not. Other pieces like bishop or rooks can fork too. Heck, even the woman can fork.
Isn't that obvious?
It's not fair.
Even the pawn can fork, a freaking pawn. But forking with the knight is the most fun, because they move in an L shape and the fork is of 10, unpredictable.
Yay.
So shut up and watch. Now I will show you how a bishop forks.
Get fork noobs.